Hey, how's it going, guys? So here we are back again at the Python BACnet Stacks Playground, where we're experimenting with AI to see if it can build a building automation system. So this is what it built last night. So basically, there's an AI agent from Codex CLI, which we talked a little bit about already, kind of borrowing some bits and pieces from OpenClaw, kind of pulling out those cool features and just kind of creating our own agents, and you don't have to deal with the hassle, my opinion, of using like a complicated framework. Plus it breaks every time that OpenClaw updates, which everyone else is complaining about on YouTube. You have to start over. So I'm actually really glad that I experimented with OpenClaw quite a bit, because it got me, I didn't even know what the Codex CLI is, and then how can I mimic that same way that, so I'm trying to mimic basically OpenClaw, and I really like the authentication just through your OpenAI $20 a month ChatGPT subscription. You get a whole bunch of credits for using Codex, like a lot of other people on YouTube are talking about, versus just like paying for an API key or API token usage. You can get a lot more bang for your buck just with using a subscription. Like with Cursor down here, which I've even upgraded to like a more expensive plan. You get so much more out of just using some sort of subscription for these kind of tasks. So yeah, this is what it built last night. I kind of had a couple issues. The login didn't work, and I'm also just on like a redirect from the local host. But it made this kind of cool front end. I don't even think this is real data, but so it made a building automation system. I mean, it kind of mimicked like what it could look like. So yeah, kind of neat, I guess. So I want to use Cursor then to update our. Yeah, this is cool. So this would be a command and release. So yeah, kind of neat. So let's just get back to our schematic here. So I'm on this Windows machine using SSH with Cursor, kind of diving into this little Linux server, which I kind of showed you on the previous videos when I panned my camera. This is just an old desktop computer converted to Ubuntu Linux. This is actually a different IP address, .18. So like when building automation technicians or contractors, when they set up building automation systems, they're always on site. They're always installing hardware. So I'm trying to mimic that environment of being local into the building. Excuse me. And then we also still have our fake VAV and air handling unit device that we've been playing around with throughout this course. So, okay, so how can we improve this? I think that can be improved a lot. So like, what I think is kind of interesting about this is actually, maybe I'll add a little schematic here representing the Codex CLI command line interface. So this, we looked at this in the prior videos. This is from OpenAI. It's an application built in Rust. It's a compiled program, so all we're doing is using the Ubuntu Linux operating system that just runs this program on a cron service. So a cron service is, let's see, I wonder what that acronym stands for. Let's see, what does cron acronym stand for in Linux? Derived from the Greek word chronos, meaning time. Huh, that's cool, I didn't know that. So it's basically, we can schedule services to run on a repeating task. So that's exactly what OpenClaw does. So something that Cursor does not have, like when I use Cursor to modify files or create code, it can only, there's another acronym out now, you only live once, YOLO. There's even an argument for that in the Codex CLI. So so it just repeats, does its task, and it dies, kind of like any other task on an operating system, or like, you know, some kind of program out there. It's just like it just runs and it dies. But like with the cron service, we can actually wake up that task. And what I'm experimenting with is just running it once an hour. So like what I'm doing here is, like, we on the previous videos, we could use the Codex CLI to dial out to the OpenAI data centers or whatever, and they kind of there's a request to in a question. So like we ask the Codex CLI to like we made a silly joke, and it saved itself in a text file. So we're asking it to build a web app. So like still trying to dial this in on how often I can wake up the cron service. So my 5-hour usage, only at 94% because I haven't used it very much, and the weekly usage drained down to 58, overnight. But it looks like it resets in 2 days, so that's okay. This is just kind of fun experimentation. So like at the moment, the usage, I think I'm only dialing out once an hour, and the mini model has 3 API calls, and then we use the GPT, the big one, on a review. So this is just a little bit about the usage. So like basically going on behind the scenes, this must be the old Codex model. We looked up yesterday that OpenAI Codex is no longer its own model. This must be a legacy thing. So like what they're doing now is just GPT 5.5 is also Codex, but it has its own flavor, I guess, to make it more specifically built for coding. So like what I bet what's going on behind the scenes there is they have these skills markdown files, which we need to talk about a little bit more. I should actually show you. I actually want to write an article about this. So I've been chatting with ChatGPT about this. I even had it kind of craft out like what my article could look like. So like I think this is actually kind of like a new way of like software engineering. So this is like so if you look behind the scenes, even in OpenAI, I've seen it, it's checking some sort of skill markdown file. So this is just a way that the model can get context on what to do. So like we're like reorganizing, basically we're creating a specification, is tell the agent what to do, how to build the building automation system app. So this is kind of like probably the current way people are doing software engineering with agentic AI. And what we can do as building automation technicians, like we're experts at building automation, and like we can sign off on like, yes, this is legit, no, this is not legit, needs to get revised, so like we're the experts at building automation systems. I guess like the manufacturer can also be an expert at building automation systems, but I vouch for the little guy, just saying like, well, we don't need you anymore. Someday it'll be like that. We can just do this for free. So hopefully someday we'll be able to do this for free, and it'll be kind of fun. Okay, so like what we're kind of doing here is like we used a really primitive construction specification for building automation, and then we're like building all these little skill markdown files. So a markdown file is just a text file, basically, but you can render a markdown file on like GitHub. So this is just some text in here on what the model needs to do. So like, this is cool. So basically this is like when we want to enhance our web app on what it does, I'm going to ask Cursor to modify the skills, basically. Okay, so we have like probably a little bit ways to go on this. So, okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So like so I'm using Cursor to dial into modify files on this host Linux system. And then like these skills markdown files live here in this little structure. Speaking of which, I could probably just copy this. Maybe I can put it, maybe I'll do that later. But so like each time I iterate and make this process better and better, these skills markdown files will live here, and then the Codex CLI will iterate over and over and over and over until it can sign off that like, yes, we met our criteria that this web app is built correctly, and I proved overnight that that it was able to build something really basic, even though like I was having some issues on how to dial into it remotely. We can fix that. We could probably make it better. We could make a better, look and feel of the web app and everything like that. But hey, it made something, and I don't think that it did any BACnet discovers or anything. Okay, so where to start with this? How to make it better? Okay, so I just want to. This is like myself chatting with why I couldn't dial into it remotely. So I'm just asking Cursor how to fix that. And then I'm going to ask, so basically what Codex CLI did is it built this. It created this directory, and over it iterated, kept on iterating all night long. And it built all of this Python code, even though I don't think it did anything. Wow, it built a ton of Python code all night long. It's pretty cool. So how can we actually do this on real data? So like the specification that we got from, we got this from Amazon Web Services. So this is like basically, it's not to build a building automation system from scratch through software engineering. It's to how to set up a building automation system, but we can still borrow that. Yeah, so it had built a ton of code. It even built unit tests. So this is the front end. So this is the web page that we looked at. It just made this massive HTML file, 3,000 lines long, pretty crazy. So it built a lot of really cool stuff. We just weren't able to test it very well. Other than one of the sign-off criteria is that it needs to have a stable code. So basically, we're going to delete this and have it built again, but with better skills markdown files. Okay, so we need to have this fixed, like to dial into it remotely. Okay, so I'm just going to ask, let's kill and remove all web apps on this machine, including Caddy. Then mod the skills MD as needed, so that doesn't happen again. Okay, so right now it's modifying our files, so like when Codex runs again, it'll have a better experience. I think that we should change this to this folder. This folder should be changed to BAS build spec as well, just so there's So there's no confusion, so there is no confusion. So I'll just have cursor do that, so then it knows how to reference it in the future. Okay, so another thing that I want to do, maybe we can just do this on the Python BACnet playground. Yeah, this is kind of cool. So I might just take a screenshot of this before we kill it. Just gonna save my screenshot. Okay, so how can we improve on this? So I want to go here. So like, if you remember the basic, where did we get into point discovery? I think we got point discovery here. No, not that one. So like previous vibe code apps, maybe it was number 5. So I'm just on the BACnet stacks playground. So this is the backpipes 3 point discover script. So I'm just gonna go here and hit this copy button from GitHub. Copied, so then I'm gonna go I wonder if I should just put this in here. Okay, so it's renaming it. Maybe there's lots of files that need to be renamed. Maybe I'll just put this file right into the build spec. What I wanted to do is like ensure that it did a BACnet discover. Okay, so it changed it. And then maybe I'll just do, shoot, that was a new file, so I'm just gonna do a new folder. I'm just gonna say BACnet scripts example. Where'd it go? Okay, so you can make a new file in a Linux command line with touch, or else you can just right click through SSH. I can do, let's do discover.py paste. That's the code that I just copied from GitHub. Actually, maybe I should, not quite the name of the file here. Okay, so what we need to do too is probably give it a whois. So actually, does this do a whois? Can't remember. Maybe we can just add that in. Succeed. So we did a who. Did we do a whois? Backpipes 3. Where did we do a whois? I'm just looking at our old code. Okay, so maybe I could just copy this. So this is just our little application. Let's just see if this runs. Okay, so we should have, actually we might need a virtual environment installed. So I am just going to list our directories, change directory into the BAS build spec. And then in Python, you can do a BACnet, or you can do a virtual environment like Python 3 VNV, stands for virtual environment, and just call it ENV, which is kind of typical. So then this is where we use the Python package manager called pip to install Python packages. So I do a dot env because that's the name of the virtual environment we made. Then activate it. You can see it's activated. So then this is where we can activate a little virtual environment with pip. So pip install backpipes 3 and if header. So this is a networking Python package that backpipes 3 uses, and it can automatically detect the NIC card. Works on Linux. I think that's, I can't remember if header has two F's or one F's, but it looks like just one. Okay, so then that works. So now we should be able to use this script. If you guys remember, when we installed Codex, we used npm, so that was the JavaScript package manager, and then the Python package manager is pip. So when you install Codex, uses npm, but it does something kind of similar. You know, this is just I think most coding languages, most modern ones, have some kind of package management feature. Rust's package manager is called Cargo. Okay, so this machine is .18. Let's just run this. Okay, so why can't, okay, so we're not in the right directory. Are we in the right directory? So, actually, I think I just can go like this. Copy relative path. Paste that into here. I think this might work. No such file. Just going to ask to cheat with cursor. How to run and check this out. So this will just be just an example that what I want to do is enhance our web app building spec to the AI can build its own BACnet tools. So this is what I want it to do in an improved spec. I don't know why it's having me change directory back into the home directory. Okay, so this worked. So the point discovery worked. It found the two devices. If you remember, so we're on here, this point discovery script is running and it's finding our fake VAV box and air handling unit, which we've done 100 times already. Maybe there's a little bit of massaging that needs to get done. So I just wanted to give this as an example script. How to modify this to collect whois and IAMs, and then for each IAM, do a point discover. If you remember, like this is on our Windows tool, so we've talked about this thousands of times on this YouTube channel, so I could do the same thing on my Windows computer, is do a whois on the same tools that we use to build building automation systems. There's the two devices, and then do a point discover. So like I'm trying to do this through Python scripting. Alright, let's run that again, see if that works. Stupid. No, it made it worse. Okay, so this is one way. Let's just get a working BACnet script. Still screwing it up. So as you can see, AI does not do a great job at writing BACnet scripts. But if we can give it a couple easy, examples to look at, I have a feeling that, like what I am shooting for is like this guy. Like, so imagine if I'm a building automation technician, and then these are BACnet devices that some electrician is building. This is a new building, could be even existing one, I guess. I've had a working BACnet system. So electrician is installing these devices. These should be PLCs, PLC or some kind of application specific controller. Lots of wires, relays, sensors being installed. And so I'm the building automation technician, and I'm setting up perhaps AI of the future would be some kind of process like this, where AI is just iterating back and forth until it can find these devices and then do all the point discovering, and then it can chug away all night long at building something, building the graphics, building the points tree, attaching alarms, and then me, the building automation technician, can kind of sign off on it. Hey, that looks good, not right, something isn't right with that. So it can, that's basically what I'm shooting for. All right, did it get it right? Okay, so it got it right. So what it did is it finally got it correct. So we collected 2 scripts. It did a point discover of each of the fake VAV box. Okay, cool. So this is a starting point. So I'm going to copy this back into cursor. Just say, cool. This is a nice starting point. So we need to mod drag that back in there, skills for how to do this. I myself, the tech, have signed off that it looks as expected. These are the BACnet devices. Okay, so what we need the AI to do is, this would be step 1 in the processes that we have working BACnet drivers. Then there needs to be some sort of mechanisms going on where the AI does the point discovers of the devices, and then it builds its own drivers via the I did put in some kind of these are just more examples. This is just another markdown file, which we talked about yesterday. It's just all of the other kind of scripts we worked on before. These are just Python files in a text file. Build its own driver via examples for read, write null, read multiple, etc. And see, and then continue on with the web app build. I'm going to ask it to please audit this. Did it do a good job. Okay, so that's one thing we want it to do. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. We're improving our software engineering spec of what the AI is supposed to do. And then we'll try again to see if we have like a better building automation system. Gosh, what else should we do? I have like one other idea here. Maybe I should have it build it in this. So if you remember, this was something else that ChatGPT made. I think I can just do python serve.py. Let's see, I can't remember what this was. Let's just cheat and look at the README. I can't remember how to run this, but this is like some concept idea of that I thought kind of had like a cool. All right, so let's just try and run this again. Jumping around a little bit here, but this will be the next thing. I want to have it make a better front end. So okay, let's see. So I need a new terminal. Okay, so this is just on my Windows computer. I just want to show you this concept idea front end. And why can't that be reached? Oh shoot, maybe this is the wrong. Okay, so sorry guys, I just want to show you this real quick. 2.0.1. Let's try this port. Anyways, maybe I can't get this to work. But this was just kind of like a cool React front end. So I might actually just copy this code. Kind of annoying, sorry about that. Run an example. So this is schedule example. Okay, so this is like a neat React front end. Okay, so just a couple updates. I'm just going to ask Cursor, what is the cool Wiresheet JavaScript here? Can we port that over into the build requirements? Is that we need a... Okay, so like the next thing I wanted to have it do is I'm just gonna close some of these. Sorry about jumping around so much. So like in building automation systems, like usually if this was a real building, there'd be an outside air temperature sensor, like wired to a boiler, typically hardwired to a boiler, and then a supervisory level device always shares that data from one device to the next. So like what I want to have it do when it builds out this application, basically spec to build the building automation system when Codex runs all night long, is to pretend that it's reading in some outside air temperature sensor and then writing to one device for a networked outside air temp sensor. So this is actually really common in building automation systems, that you have, there's global data that's shared around the building. So let me just show you like what that is. So I'm actually going to put that into the spec. So if you see this as outside air network, it's a writable BACnet point. So like what is common is that data is written from one device to the other device through writable BACnet points. And they do that because every device in the building automation system can't have its own outside air temperature sensor. Mostly due to its cost. It would take extra wires for the building automation contractor to run. And then sometimes that if this is in a mechanical room in a poor location, you might not be able to run a wire, so you just use the network to communicate that value. Okay, so like I can do that here too. Okay, what is the cool, so this example had a cool wire sheet. Can we port that over into a better build requirements? To make a neat wire sheet of how outside air networked needs to be written to by the BAS server. For now, it can be made up fake data, but the outside air temperature sensor value needs to be written to the BACnet device for requiring networked outside air temperature. This should include point names, and you can see that in the data. Okay, so also the spec should include robust points tree, typical to all BAS platforms, and under the hood we should see data flowing to some sort of database for the telemetry of all useful BAS sensors. Okay, one more modification. This video is turning into kind of long, so like what I am dying to see is probably check on this tomorrow, and then what kind of a better building automation system did it build. So like what I'm also going to do too, I already started this actually, is on the Python BACnet stacks, is I'm actually retrofitting our Vibe Code app 11 checkpoint. This will be this. this will be nothing but this is going to get blasted away. This is like what I was trying to push ChatGPT agent mode the other day. Like, I'm just going to totally do away with that, and then this will be nothing but skills in a spec, basically, to use AI to make a building automation system. Okay, sorry about this example, it didn't work, but one last task. Okay, so we should check this acceptance criteria markdown file. Ooh, so we need to, this needs to be checked. Okay, so like basically what's happening under the, no, it doesn't need to do, okay, I guess, all right, so it's putting in very specific wire sheet strip. All right, so this should be interesting, but what I didn't want it to do is put in very specific information, but we can clean it up. Okay, so this needs to be stripped of all specific BACnet device addresses and specific info for a BAS. It should just look for a point named OAT network or something similar. I'm just going to say the spec needs to work in any building. So basically, as the Codex CLI starts iterating, it's going to start checking these boxes that it did this. And that's the next thing I'm going to ask it to is please remove all check boxes, and we don't need floor plans for now. Okay, build checkpoints. Dang, this must have been what I did last night. So like, alright, so this must have, alright, so I'm just going to ask it to clear out old logs. So this is basically its log last night. I guess what it did. Yeah, so GPT is the critique, and the mini model is the worker. Okay, can we delete all logs and get ready to start over? Yeah, so these are all the logs. Wow. This is something we should maybe pay attention to more on this next better build, and just like keep on looking at the logs to see where it screwed up, but it creates a log of its process. Including anything in here like the we should probably create some kind of like a bash script for that. Make an easy bash script for the redo process, please. Okay, so that'll be the next thing. And then the last thing I wanted to do is this is the Niagara 4. Alright, so lastly, can we mod the specification so that it uses this React schedule widget and same styling for the entire UI. This just needs to get in a written format to describe to the AI on how to build, where then under the hood, the AI needs to write to these points in its BACnet drivers for motor commands required. Just have it guess for now which ones are the motor commands and have it show the status of the commands, which should be a read verification feedback on an interval that the write was accepted by the device, and it should retry if the write failed for whatever reason. And this should be a status mismatch alarm on the UI. Temp sensors on the BACnet devices should have alarms attached as well as described in the spec, and please make a database mechanisms as needed to handle this, as well as polling, reading, and writing mechanisms. This just needs to be a skill somewhere in the spec for the Codex CLI to make on its own in a very generic way. It should make whatever it needs as long as it passes robust acceptance criteria. Alright guys, this is kind of turning into a long video, apologize. So let's I think that this will be like kind of, this is fun. I could do this as a hobby. Okay, let's and it's a weekend, so that's why we're doing it. Yeah, so I have a feeling like this will just get better and better and better, better and better. And, like AI is just kind of slowly building this, slowly building a building automation system on its own, as long as it's maintaining its rate limits for the API calls. And then us, the building automation technicians, we're like giving it acceptance criteria. We're signing off on like, yes, it made it. Did a good job or did not do a good job, that kind of thing. So, this is pretty fun. Okay, so I'll probably stop here on this video, and then on the next video, let's just see what it made, and then we'll kind of just, we're going to be the ones, repeating the cycle a dozen more times or whatever it takes to be like until it can build something cool. And it will. I have full confidence. Like if we got this far, what is stopping us now? Nothing. And what else I think, like I know that these AI models can do this is if it can, if we're like a building automation technician, like they build the building automation system and then they move on to different jobs. And they keep on building. There's usually new construction building automation technicians that are specialized in new construction new construction work, commissioning, and they keep on going to new jobs, new buildings, and then service teams move in usually after some kind of a warranty expires, like about a year. Usually the controls service department then takes over the account. So like the AI, I have full confidence that it can go into a service mode and then start assisting like building operators in analyzing the health of the building and the HVAC. So I know it can do this. And I have experience in both sides of those. So most controls technicians have experience on both sides. So yeah, this is fun stuff. Shout out. So thank you guys for bearing with me. Some of these videos are kind of daunting, but this is kind of fun stuff. So it's exciting. Catch you guys on the flip side, and let's see what it makes. Talk to you soon.